Three, two, one. Ben Allen, you are the founder and CEO of Oomph Wellness. You are the chairman of the Care Workers Charity. You're the co-founder of the Care Innovation Hub, the chairman of Murthy, and a handful of other organisations. Welcome to the Care Home Show.
Nice to see you.
Really good to see you too. So one of the things that always strikes me about you when we talk is the fact that you've got really quite a unique perspective on the sector because of the different organisations that you have. Tell me about what's going on in your world and what you see as being kind of the biggest challenges within the sector today.
Well, I do a bit of stuff, but 99% of my time is Oomph. I'm fortunate that I'm able to be involved in other things as well. But I believe that everybody deserves a really great quality of life, whether you live in a care home or don't live in a care home. So when I'm looking at the care sector and the market, I'm looking at the gaps in people's quality of life and how they could be filled with better opportunity. Of course, the sector's got many challenges, but I think the biggest challenge that we all face is living longer, but often living longer without a good quality of life. And we talk a lot about it at work, but it's not the length of life, it's the quality of life in that length.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I'd say, given what you do, again from the perspective of Oomph, but then some of the other things that you're involved in, I'd say that you've probably had more to do with the improvement of well-being for older people in the UK than plenty of people. Which, I mean, I've got to congratulate you for that and the team. There's some fantastic stuff that you guys do, but. Where did it all start, and how did you get into the sector?
Oh, I'm a fitness guy by background, so I lectured in exercise for the European Institute of Fitness. I did a brief spell in Australia for the Australian Institute of Fitness. I basically train people to become personal trainers, so I did that, and a part of those two parts of the qualification which I focused on, which one was around special populations. So people at obesity, stroke rehab, cancer rehab, and then older people. So I quite liked older people. And then the other bit which I specialised in was in the business side. How do you start a fitness business? So I had a bit of an understanding of that, and I loved working for European Institute of Fitness and in Australia as well. But I actually didn't particularly I liked what we did. I didn't like working for people.
Okay.
So in Scarborough, I started thinking about more and more about what we had in Scarborough, where I'm from. So my family's in Scarborough, and we've got lots and lots of care homes in Scarborough because people retire to the coast. And being a seasonal town, we've got a reasonable amount of unemployment. So I had sort of the delayed penny dropping moment, which is, well, I can train people to become personal trainers. I can train people to work with older people. I know how to do that. I know about the business side. I'm not afraid of selling. So what I do is I start an exercise company delivering exercise classes for older people in Scarborough. So I subcontracted personal trainers to do that. I train them specifically how to work in the care homes. We'd sub them in, and that was how Oomph started. And obviously it's changed a lot over the years. But we started with me selling a car, going door-to-door selling in Scarborough with one subcontracted fitness instructor, and it grew from there.
Wow. And how long ago was that now?
That was 8 years ago. So we started the business 8 years ago. It was lots of fun, lots of challenge.
You've scaled fantastically, and we'll come on to that in a little while. But the journey that you've undergone over the last 8 years has been quite tremendous. I've had the pleasure of watching it for roughly the last 3 years, and even since then things have come along fantastically since then. So it's great to watch. I always get excited when you and me go for lunch and things, because I get to hear about not just what's going on now since our last conversation, but then how you're going about achieving your vision and aspirations and things for the business. Even at the beginning of our conversation before we started filming, about some of the new clients that you've landed, and I know what that means is the fact that you're going to be improving the well-being of more and more older people around the country, which is it's exciting. It's good to see it as well. So tell me more about Oomph. Lay that out for us, just so that we know exactly what you're up to in the world.
So Oomph is the largest provider of wellbeing services for older people in the country. We have two, I suppose. Well, we've got three verticals to the business. Two specifically in the care home sector. One is around well-being training and support. So we provide a suite of training and support for staff members in care homes to deliver outstanding provision around activities and person-centred activity for older people. On the other side, we've got our transport company, where we take about 3,000 to 4,000 people on trips out every month. And yeah, and then we've got our third vertical, which is in the community, which is around exercise, where we partner with Sport England. So we're their largest partner in their active ageing fund. We've received about just shy of £1 million of funding to get 27,000 older people from inactive to active, mainly in sheltered housing schemes. So working with the largest sheltered housing scheme providers across the country doing that. But I think across the business, we've got roughly 1 million participant sessions per year to our services, and that could be George coming 10 times. So, but it's a reasonably big number, and it will only grow. So we're very, very ambitious. We can see that, for instance, the transport side has got the opportunity to connect many thousands of people who aren't able to get outside with the outside world and connecting them to their communities. Equally with the training side, we know that, for instance, physical inactivity and loneliness is a huge issue. I mean, when you look at the care sector, less than 10% of older people meet the World Health Organization guidelines for physical activity. Obviously, there's a lot of work to be done there to create a more positive impact. So we're very, very focused on that.
Fantastic. So, from the perspective of the positive change that you want to be able to see in the world, that's obviously focuses on resident well-being and things. How do your services specifically impact the resident from a well-being perspective, and how do the different products kind of align to supporting well-being and kind of activities and things?
Sure. So if we start with the heritage of the business, exercise classes and for older people. If we go back to what I was saying a moment ago, if roughly 90% of older people don't meet the World Physical Activity guidelines, that means that people are living with limited mobility, higher anxiety, less ability to self-care. Just by getting up to three sessions of exercise a week, at roughly 30 minutes per time, is going to make a transformative change in your well-being. We then evidence this. We're a social enterprise, so we use tools like the EQ5D, which is a way of analysing self-assessed health, and we can tell you categorically that Oomph exercise classes can improve quality of life by 13%. That then gets turned into quality-adjusted life years and then cost per quality, so then we come out as a highly cost-effective intervention when you're looking at it from sort of a commissioning standpoint. Hence why we got a lot of the funding from Sport England. If you look at, for instance, transport, 50% of people who move into a care home won't go outside again for more than 8 minutes. Well, to me, that's just wrong. I believe that people should be connected with the outside world. Of course, there are huge challenges in the sector around affordability. Minibuses, for instance, are very, very expensive. So what we engineered was we tried to figure out how you can make transport as affordable as possible. So we came with a pooled service, and we've managed to reduce the cost of transport by roughly 9x to what's currently being delivered. So the average care home in the country, if they've got their own minibus, pays about 1,800 quid a month for that minibus. That is including all the on costs. But the actual usage of that vehicle is less than 3 hours a month. 3 hours a month is one trip. So for a lot of care groups in the country are paying £1,800 for one trip out a month. Well, we're £195 a trip, including the VAT. So when you look at the economics, so it's saying, okay, well-being is very, very important, but actually, what are the biggest barriers to well-being? Well, for instance, transport is expensive. Okay, well, let's make it cheap. Exercise is expensive. A personal training going into a care home costs £40 to £50 a session. Well, Oomph works out £4.50 a session, so we're 10 times cheaper. So when we're looking at these things, we're saying, okay, how can you make well-being affordable? And if you can make it affordable, it's scalable. And then that's how we look at making the Oomph model work.
And that sits in with your kind of underlying ethos of a full life for life.
Exactly, yeah. So it's everything we live for, whether it's whether it's an Oomph member of the team, when we deliver our services, it's how we treat each other, as well as treating the residents that we work with. We believe that everybody deserves a full life for life, and we live it every day.
Have you ever done a breakdown on kind of how your services align with the Chloe's? Because any inspector that's coming into a home, I can imagine if they hear, oh, we've got the wellness guys in that are doing this, this, and this. Surely, if they've heard of the organisation, that's just going to be a massive tick in the box in whatever specific alignment that makes.
Sure. So we've mapped all of our interventions to the key lines of inquiry.
Sure.
So after every time, for instance, on our training side, after every time we visit a care home, we write a wellbeing action plan. It's directly linked into the key lines of inquiry.
Sure.
So that's really helpful. We see that a lot of the care homes we work with get better ratings, which again is brilliant. To me, it's secondary. What's primary is we want to make people's lives better. So that's the ultimate goal for Oomph, is to improve people's quality of life. And by their way, there are all these benefits. One of them might be efficiency, so we can reduce the cost of your transport. Another might be around regulatory ratings. Another one might be how you market your service. They're added benefits, right? So it's saying, okay, this is a person. This person's life should be great.
Yeah.
How can we make that person's life great? And by the way, this all happens.
One of the things that we talk about a lot in our business is we talk about, so what goes on within your business, what's kind of the operating system, and and then so that's internally what goes on within the business, and how that's accurately reflected from kind of a brand perspective and things as well. So if you want to be known within your local community as being a provider of high standards of care and providing wonderful life experiences for older people, you need to be doing that. You need to be doing that on the ground. And of course, if anyone's been into a care home that doesn't have great activities and one that does have great activities, you can feel it. It's all part of the palpable energy that you get when you go into a wonderful care home, and that's derived from the team coming and showing up with the right level of energy. But then also that's I guess reciprocated by the residents, because they're enjoying themselves. There are smiles on their faces. They're happy. They're enjoying life.
Definitely. I mean, the hardest thing is to change the culture. So when you get in there early and set the culture, just to your point, where the manager drives well-being into the home, the team members are absolutely bought in, guaranteed that you can walk into the residents' quality of life is fundamentally better. Mm-hmm. It's not like a little bit better. It's a lot better. You then go into a care home where it's reasonably high churn, that there's limited buy-in. It's a care home that may have been there for 20 years, and it's rated inadequate. You can guarantee the residents' quality of life is lower.
Of course.
I'm one of the few people in the country who's been in over 1,000 care homes. I know what a good care home looks like, and they may or may not work with Oomph, but what they are absolutely bought into is the fact that they're there to help somebody enjoy a better quality of life. And the quality of care is really important, but the quality of life is more important.
Of course.
The quality of care should be a given. Mm. And I think that's where a lot of people fall down. I think people expect, from a consumer standpoint, people expect great care. That should be a given, and then they shop for great quality of life.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of operators, from what we see, they put too much weight on appeasing the regulator, shall we say? So making sure that they get whatever CQC rating that they're aiming for, and they're doing it almost as a tick box exercise, which that will probably go some way to ensuring that residents enjoy the best possible life experience, but it's misweighted the wrong way. If you put far more focus on the well-being of the residents and their life experience, then again the CQC, what the CQC think about you should almost be not completely irrelevant. But if you're delivering fantastic life experiences, then you're going to get good, if not an outstanding.
And there are wonderful examples of this across the country, whether it's WCS Care, where they live those values around experience, and people's experience is really great. You can point multiple providers who do this really well, and I just think it's all about the management team, where you've got great leadership with great care home managers. The experience in the homes is often very good.
Here's an interesting question for you. So, out of the people that you speak to when you're out there generating new business and things, what are the consistents in the people who don't want to work with you and the people that do want to work with you? Because I can imagine there's probably some real clear synergies between the wills and the will not type thing.
It's really interesting. What we've seen over the development of Oomph is the business has been built in two phases really, and we're yet to succeed with the third phase. And one is, whenever we've launched something, we know our early adopter market. So we know that they are often entrepreneurs, and they often there's a synergy with me because I'm an entrepreneur or entrepreneurial. So there's that. They're often running a medium to small size care group very initially, and they know all their managers' names. So that's generally the first mover with us.
Okay.
And they'll pilot almost anything that we launch. So they'll pilot things which don't work, they'll pilot things which do work, but even if something has worked, they'll still pilot the next thing.
Sure.
Which is great. It's great for our innovation and allows for that to happen. Then we've got what is sort of the classic mainstream, where you've got the larger providers who will wait for about a year, and they'll watch what's gone on, and they'll say, okay, has this worked? Is it credible? And is it going to be right for our business and our Oomph at a scale where they're going to be able to deliver it for us?
Sure.
So we'll see that market will come on board. Usually there'll be corporates, they'll be very well managed, and there'll be some of the big names in the space, and then you got the laggards, where often they're probably local authority groups which have or homes which have been gobbled up, and they're very hard for us because they're difficult businesses anyway. So these are organisations where just making the economics of the care business work is just a full-on job.
Sure.
And we just don't come onto the agenda. It's much more around, okay, how can we get agency down and stuff like that. So we're yet to break that market, but we've been around a little while. We know a reasonable amount of people, but yeah, I generally that's how it works for us.
It's interesting, isn't it, that so we've worked out as an organisation as well that we align particularly well with certain types of organisations, and they're not so well with others. Over a period of time, you get a feeling around who's good to work with and who's not good to work with, and that's not to say that anyone that sits outside that is like wrong in any way, shape, or form. But it's almost like, I mean, it's happened time and time again. The people that we align with best with our range of services, the people that we align with best from a vision and values perspective, they're the people that get the best results because they buy into us as an organisation, they buy into the team, they work far more cohesively, and the results are just fantastic.
Yeah, you couldn't be more right. I mean, we effectively sell a partnership model, which is we'll partner with you to run great wellbeing services, or we'll partner with you to run great transport services. Where it totally falls down is if the partner thinks we're just a supplier.
Sure.
Because then you're arm's length to the business, and to make this work, for instance, getting the right number of people going on the trips out, knowing that the trip isn't going to be cancelled, whether it's you're going to deliver training, the training's going to happen on that date, all those things, they're simple things, but when there isn't internal buy-in, so what can happen is leadership or chief exec will make a decision, and then ops don't get buy-in, and then making it land is really hard.
Sure.
So we've learned this over a number of years. So now we'll make sure that the onboarding throughout the process is absolutely banged on. And when we're upfront with that before we work with the person or an organisation, because if they can't do that, then it's come a year down the track when we're talking about, has this worked for you, and has it worked for your residents? The answer will be no.
Sure.
So we were just upfront about it from the start.
It's really, really interesting. I follow loads of groups on various different forms of social media and things like that, and you can see some groups are so engaged in the Oomph service range, and you can see it because that's, you mentioned one of the byproducts of running Oomph services. It's, you integrate what you're doing on a day-to-day basis from an activities perspective into your content marketing strategy, and the world gets to see this fantastic array of great stuff that's going on, and lots of smiling faces and lots of people feeling, again, their well-being is obviously being significantly lifted because of their what's going on in each home, and that people will buy into that. People with a quite a common negative perception from a consumer perspective, from a consumer market perspective for care homes, people need to see that type of thing to think, actually, you know what, that's where I want my.
Yeah, so that's a deliberate choice that we make as an organisation. Is we deliberately went into the community market not particularly initially to make money. We went there so people would follow brand.
Sure.
So we went into sheltered housing schemes, with retirement villages. It's not huge margin for us, but what it does do, it builds a brand in a space where people trust, which people trust and they enjoy. And we want them to choose care homes that work with us. So then they'll follow that brand. So they can go access our exercise services. They come to a care home that's got our well-being services. They've got our transport services. It's an Oomph t-shirt. It's an Oomph t-shirt again in the care homes. It's an Oomph minibus. We'll eventually go. We will launch Oomph holidays. So we're building brand throughout that journey. Sure. So people will follow the brand.
That makes a lot of sense. What you're creating effectively is a product ecosystem, I guess, where there's various different touch points where people have opportunities to engage with Oomph in various different ways, so that as and when a significant, I guess, buying decision comes about through whatever way, shape or form, it enables them to have already had that level of experience where they know, like, and trust you. You're seen as a credible partner to align with, to make sure that their residents are being best looked after.
I really hope so. I really want the business to be known for doing something that other people haven't done or couldn't do. Mm-hmm. And if you look at, no sane person would launch a bus company for the care sector. It's really, really, really hard.
Sure.
And we've done it. And it's been hard, but now we're succeeding, and we're getting lots of people out and about, and it's transformative. How does that happen for a new entrant into the market? It doesn't. To make the economics of it work, you need to have the ecosystem to be able to, and have the trusted relationships to say, we're going to do minibus trips, we want you to do it with us, and suddenly you can get the efficiency to make it work. So the entry into the market is very difficult from that point of view. When we're also looking at, for instance, holidays, when you look at it's brand extension, but actually it's capability extension, because what we've got is, yes, we've got a trusted brand, but actually we've got a minibus, so we know how to run a trip out. We already risk assess wherever we go, so we can run the risk assessment on the holiday. We've got an activity business, so we know how to run activities when people get there. I'm from a family of hoteliers, so we know hotels. So all you're doing is you're putting a wrap around it all and say, we could do holidays. And that could be a holiday for a person in care, a person with a learning disability, or a person in retirement living, where they're just nervous about going on holiday because they now need some level of care, and very few holiday providers provide for them. So we look at this and say, okay, this is what we do today. This is what we're pretty good at. I wouldn't say we're really good, because there's lots of areas for us to improve all the time. And what then we ask ourselves, what would I expect next? And if I would expect to still be able to go on holiday or still be able to get outside, then we ask ourselves, can we do that? And if we believe we can do it, we'll do it.
It's interesting. I was listening to a podcast about raising venture capital, and the guy was talking about his experiences of investing in various different companies, and the fact that just because an idea hasn't done before, or that it doesn't make sense in today's world, that shouldn't be a precursor of whether it's a worthwhile company to invest in, because often you've got to break new ground. And I don't know specifically what your whether you've got any kind of values around being kind of innovative or disruptive, but that's certainly one thing that you've managed to do. There's a step change in activities for care homes and for the kind of the wider community that you support, that if you hadn't done what you've done and you and the team have done and managed to achieve, then people would still be doing it the same old way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're a very entrepreneurial business, and that's for good and for bad. I mean, we're building a lot of structure into the business right now and building the right systems to be able to grow, which isn't my natural skill set. I'm much more of a creative person, and I'm not naturally a completer finisher. So I need to make sure we've got a good team there. Equally, I've got great mentors. So I've got great people who support me, and whether that's Mike Parsons, who founded Barchester, or Mark Hutchison, who basically set up Virgin Money, set up the homes, went into Homes and Communities Agency to CEO there, set up Brighter Kind for 4 seasons. So you got these amazing people who are imparting their knowledge in me, and all I'm doing is I'm just listening and giving it a crack.
Trying to absorb as much of that knowledge and wisdom as you possibly can. So, mentors have made a massive difference in my life, and it would appear that they've made a massive difference in your life as well. If there's somebody out there that is looking for a mentor, how would you recommend somebody go about trying to find somebody that can help them take their life, their business, their aspirations and vision and things to that next level?
Well, I think it's recognising that different mentors have a different stage to play at a different time in your life. So I think I've had 4 or 5 really important mentors. So I had Andy Yates when I first started the business. He was, in fact, before that I had Voin Marek, who was my old boss when I ran language schools, who was a true entrepreneur, and he taught me all about being fairly sales focused. He's extremely dynamic, so and extremely competitive. So I learned that from Voin.
What, you're not competitive? Hang on.
And then I had Albert. So when I started the business, as a mentor, all I needed was somebody to pat me on the back and tell me that I was doing a good thing. Because every day when you start a business like mine, you get up and you think, is it worth it? You've sold the car, you've moved back home with mum and dad, and you're just grinding out, and you're not paying yourself. I didn't pay myself for 2 years. So I literally worked every day without paying myself. And I was getting bank loans because I was paying my team on 30 days. I was basically doubling the business every month. I was paying the team on 30 days, but the caterers were paying me on 90.
Sure.
So my bill the following month.
Your working capital requirements were just growing.
Yeah. So I was just getting personal loans to fund it. So to make it happen. So at that point, I just need somebody to say, right, Ben, stay positive. It's the right thing to do. The market will come. We'll get there. And I was right. And then the second phase was I got Andy Yates, and it was a totally different mentor. And Andy came in and basically ripped my business plan to pieces. It was all wrong. Extremely focused, very detailed, and said basically, you're not investment ready, and just drilled me. But by the end of it, I was investment ready. And so he filled that point of the journey. If he'd come in early, I'd just given up.
Yeah.
He came at a point where I had something, and he made me focus. And he got me to the point where we launched the Out and About service, and then he handed over to Mike Parsons, and Mike then gets involved and he helps me grow the business to the next stage. Would Mike have been able to help me when I was in Scarborough getting helpful advice of Albert? Absolutely not. Could Albert help me now? Absolutely not. Of course, they're all close friends and they're all very, very important to me. But everybody's got a different step in the journey. So I think everybody looking for a mentor is saying, okay, what am I wanting to achieve? Yeah. And for how long do I want to achieve that?
Sure.
And then, okay, let's find that.
I think that's a really, really important message to make as well, because one of the things that I hope to achieve with launching the Care Home Show is that people within the sector, the what do you call it? The kind of the brand line for it is going to be to inform, to educate, and inspire the sector. I want to be able to try and do that, and I hope that there are lots of budding entrepreneurial people, whether they be either looking to try and set something up up for themselves or whether they're working with an organisation at the moment. They're just looking to be the greatest person that they can be and the leader that they can be. And a lot of success can be tracked back to having a fantastic mentor and having that right person, as you say, at the right time to help you through the various different stages of growth, because businesses have different operating models, as we both know, at different stages of the journey. And as you quite rightly point out, having a mentor to be around to be able to help you address the specific challenges of where you are is of massive importance as well.
Like I'll speak to Mike minimum twice a week. When I was with Andy, it was minimum twice a week. So the great thing is because I ring, they answer the phone, and there's the rhythm of that. So we're chatting regularly. They're on the beat of the business. They know how they can support, and they do support. So it's having that support and advice, because when you're growing a business, it is lonely. The hardest time is when you've had a crap day. Either something's gone wrong from a staffing perspective, or something's gone wrong from a client perspective, and the buck stops with you.
Of course.
And you've got to go home, and your partner's there, and they want to chat about their day. It's a different type of intensity. So you do that, but being able to pick up the phone to someone who's done it before and say, actually, this isn't a problem. It's just part of growth, or actually, this is a problem. You really need to worry about it.
Sure. Yeah.
And just having that advice is absolutely fundamental. And one of the biggest things I've learned from my mentors is they are absolutely consistent. So they're consistent with their support of me. They're consistent with the language that they use, and that's the biggest thing I've learned is you've got to be consistent. So sure. I speak to them twice a week, and it happens consistently every week.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I mean, humans are creatures of habit, and what you're looking for, I guess, from a mentor to a reasonable extent is what are the habits that I need to adopt for me to be the best, most successful person that I can be. So having that level of consistency, and almost there's an element of kind of rewiring your brain, or at least kind of changing the wiring in your brain so that you can be consistent, and that you can deliver results, and that you can be objective in tough sets of circumstances and work out what's a learning opportunity and what's just a bit of a shitty day.
Yeah, exactly.
And as entrepreneurs, we all know what that feels like. So, so interesting question for you then. Okay, so you've ended up going from being a mentee, to also providing quite a lot of mentorship to a handful of different people, that the organisations that you're involved in. This feels like a good time to maybe take a slight step change towards some of the other organisations that you're involved with. So the CWC. So when you first got involved, it was a charity that was in disarray, relative obscurity, and didn't seem to be, well, I don't think it was going anywhere when you first got involved. And obviously you can explain a little bit more about that, but now it's an important brand. It feels like an essential part of the care sector ecosystem that people are excited about, that people have bought into. I'm an unofficial ambassador, talk about the Care Workers charity. People probably get bored of me banging on about it, but it seems like it's gone under your stewardship, Alex Murthy, with his role as CEO, and then recently handing on the baton to Richard Muncaster. There's been a significant transformation there, and you've played a big part in that. So tell us a bit more about the CWC and your role with those guys.
So I'm the chairman. I've been chairman for just over 2 years, and the day I took over as chairman was the day we were discussing whether it should be wrapped up or not. When I go back to there's actually some parallels with my thought process to Oomph here. So where I believe that everybody deserves a good quality of life is, do I believe that care workers should be cared for? So I fundamentally believe that in an industry that cares, we've got to be able to provide support and care for those individuals. And that's beyond the employer's requirement. I believe that should exist. And obviously the Care Workers charity was set up by its founders to do that. Like any organisation, lots of organisations, they go through periods of growth and different leadership. The Care Workers charity had gone through a bit of a sticky time where there probably wasn't clear leadership there, and it wasn't doing brilliantly, but had huge potential. And what the main focus when I went into the charity was firstly to build a new executive team. So brought Alex in, obviously, and then he built the team out from there. And then to identify what was going to be the main source of income for the charity. So we came up with a supporters club, and then came up with our plans around distribution. Distributing that income to care workers who were in a crisis. So like any benevolent fund, a big part of our benevolence is providing financial support for people in extreme hardship. And that can range through a variety of situations. In the first year of us taking it over, Alex did the work really, but we grew the charity. We executed on the strategy and grew the charity from nothing. We raised more money in 1 year than the previous 7 years combined. So from inception to that point, so the commercial strategy worked very, very well, and we distributed more money than the previous 7 years combined. So we raised more money and we distributed more money than the entire of the charity before us in 1 year.
Not a bad effort.
It was really, really successful. There is a sadness to the success. The sadness to the success is that there are so many people who need care, and so many people who need support. So this last year we virtually doubled up again. So we started goes through the £500,000 turnover mark, and we distribute even more money. And to this year we'll probably go towards the £700,000 or £800,000 turnover mark, and we'll distribute more money. The scary thing is the demand for money outstrips the supply of capital.
Despite the amount of growth that you've seen over the last...
Despite the amount of growth. And the stories of hardship are hard. So I think there's a real recognition. Well, our positioning in the charity is we will research people's well-being, employees' well-being, and we'll also look at how we can make a real impact on that. So what does the research tell us, and what's our place in that story? We're not there to demonize employers or anything like that. We know that it's a market-led issue. The sector's underfunded.
Sure.
People are heavily worked, and pay isn't wonderful. It means that the ability to catch an individual is reasonably low. So when somebody falls, they fall hard. So when we're looking at the charity, we're obviously very, very focused in how we can make a big difference, not just in the financial support, but equally in providing an ecosystem of support for those individuals. And the charity is doing really well under Richard. It's new leadership, so it's we're going from a reasonably entrepreneurial charity into now building some really good structure with some really good strategy around broadening our support away from just financial. But it's hugely exciting. Of course, I'm extremely proud that we're helping hundreds and hundreds of care workers every year who are in a really tough time. There are thousands who need support, and we need to figure out how we can support thousands of people.
It's your point about the fact that despite the fact that you've grown immensely over the last few years, but despite the growth that you've seen, the demand outstrip supply, that says something about what's going on in the sector and really just how important the charity is. I know that when Richard did the presentation for the impact report earlier on this year, I choked up. I got really quite emotional about it because obviously the clue's in the name. It's an impact report. It's about the difference that the charity makes, but yeah, there are an awful lot of people out there that do need support from the charity. So it's an essential charity within the sector. But you're doing a huge amount of great work, which is
No, thank you.
Fantastic to see.
Most sectors have a benevolent fund. Most sectors, those benevolent funds are much more established than ours. We're just very, very focused that we believe that this should be a really significant benevolent fund providing a range of services to support people and also to support care organisations. if we can help improve people's quality of life in the workforce, they're going to stay in the workforce for longer. And we can see that there's a lot of knock-on benefit in that. And on the other side, we want to make sure that people recognise care workers as not just vocational workers, as people who are delivering highly complex care, highly skilled individuals who deserve the recognition.
100%, 100%. It's great to see the care badge being launched recently. That's another way in which the sector is banging the drum of the professionalisation of the care worker and making sure that they're recognised for the work that they do. So hopefully I'll get a chance to chat to Professor Martin Green about that at some point in more detail. But yeah, it's a wonderful charity. I'm off to Snowdon in the not too distant future. I think this will probably be aired after the event now. But yeah, so we'll be climbing, I think it's 2,000 metres or 2,000 feet at night between the hours of 10 and 6 o'clock in the morning, and the plan is to raise £45,000 for the charity. I think there's 120 people joining us for that, so it should be good fun. Should be some great camaraderie, but can't get away from the fact why we're doing it in the first place.
Exactly, and we try to make our events really fun. So whether it's climbing Snowdon, whether it's the care sector ball, whether it's doing a bike ride, you can make fundraising fun.
Oh,
and that's what we're doing. And then equally, we've got our supporters club as well, which is our ongoing income stream, the underlying base of the charity. But hey, what's the point in doing it if you don't enjoy it?
It's very true. That's very true. I think one of the things that I really enjoy about the CWC as an organisation is the group of people that are involved with it. I say by virtue of the fact that the people that are involved in the charity are really well-meaning people who are actively involved in the betterment of the sector, and that brings a real positive energy. So when we get together for events and things, it's fantastic. It's so much fun. I mean, the care sector ball last year, unbelievable. Given the fact the inaugural event was raised £150,000. I don't know what the target is for this September, but I'm imagining it's going to be big.
I think we've already we'll start the event exceeding last year.
Wow. Wow.
So that's without fundraising on the night. But the care sector fundraising ball, I mean, it is good. It's a really fun evening, and when we raise a lot of money for people who need it.
Any operators out there that haven't already signed up for the care sector ball already?
There's plenty of opportunity for providers to get involved.
I think people need to be seriously considering their options. A wonderful charity to raise money for, and it will be a hell of a lot of fun as well, as you say. So yeah, from Alex Murthy's previous role as CEO onto his next venture, Murthy. It's an exciting new venture. Tell us a little bit more about that, because that's another organisation that you're actively involved in.
Yeah, so I chair Murthy with Alex. Alex is CEO. It's a brand new startup. We're really excited about it. Again, it's mission led. So I became extremely concerned about the reducing provision of daycare, particularly in the community space. Where when you look across the country, it's falling at quite an alarming rate as sort of commissioning priorities are focused elsewhere. And it means that a lot of people who had the lifeline of great daycare just don't have it now.
Sure.
And so we figured that it might be a neat idea to link up spare capacity in care homes with consumers so they can access daycare in care homes. And obviously that creates an auxiliary income stream for the care home as well. And as everybody knows, the care sector is under reasonably tight funding at the moment, so creating that auxiliary income creates opportunity to invest that in further betterment of the residents' well-being who live there, as well as improving the people in the community's well-being by creating better access to provision. We're doing it. Alex is doing it simply through a platform a bit like Airbnb. So you can list your care home with its spare capacity, so we can allow 3 people in today for daycare or for an experience day. Those people then can book, whether it's directly themselves or through a commissioner, or they can book that service. And it's really exciting. I think we've got about 150 care homes pre-signed up to it. And now we've just announced a huge partnership with Independent Age. They're one of the bigger benevolent funds for older people, and yeah, they're going to be signposting into it. So they get about 100,000 people ringing them every year inquiring about care homes, and care provision. And now they're going to be able to signpost towards Murthy. So that's going to be really exciting. So we've got a lot to do there. But it's an organisation that's so full of opportunity, because if we get it right, the first step, obviously, get people into care homes for daycare. You could do step down to respite. You can have people going out from a care worker from a care home could be going out into the community to deliver dom care. Again, when you look at the market from a market perspective, it makes absolutely no sense to have dom care delivered by one service provider, daycare by a different service provider, care homes by a different service provider. The obvious thing to do is to create an ecosystem or an organisation that has one set of back-end cost. And through having that one set of back-end cost, you can actually pay your care workers better. And they can actually get out there to deliver one service. Again, when you think about it from a brand perspective, of course you follow one brand, hence my focus with creating one brand for Oomph. If care providers can offer a suite of services from a hub, the hub being the care home, then that's got to be better for everyone.
More and more people are talking about this joined up approach to a care home, and the care provision that it can provide. Ultimately, it makes business sense to make sure that the home itself it's best serving the community, which it sounds like Murthy's managed to recognise that exact point, but then also build out, or at least is at the beginning phases of building out that platform that can make that a reality. So it's something that I've been really, really conscious of ever since I entered into the sector. So yeah, it's great to see pioneers like you and Alex getting stuck into a big real world
Alex
problem
is
there.
the pioneer, for sure. He's the one who gets up every morning and drives Murthy. But we're super lucky. I mean, we've I've had some success with them. Alex and I had a lot of success with the Care Workers charity, and now we're fortunate that we know a lot of people. We're fortunate that we've got a reasonable, we've got great supporters, mentors, and advisors who are able to provide us with the decent oversight of what it looks like out there at the moment. And all you need to do is watch the Panorama program right now. The 2 episodes on social care and the commissioning issues. It all points at that there needs to be more dynamic approaches to delivering social care. 100%. And if we can be part of that in any part of this journey, whether it's Oomph, Care Workers Charity, Murthy, or as we'll come on to in a moment, the Care Innovation Hub, that's a pretty cool place to be.
100%. What I like most and where I get most energy from spending time with people like yourself and Alex and others is the fact that all of us in our own way, we're trying to turn the dial up on the sector. It's all about sustainability, long-term sustainability of the sector, and ensuring that the high standards of care can be delivered to the people that need it. So I enjoy it an awful lot, and part of the reason for setting up the podcast is so I could have these types of conversations. I love it. You and me get to go and have lunch every now and then. I will come away from that feeling empowered, thinking, right, okay, so we're onto something here. We're all making a difference. We're all contributing something to that. And I really wanted to be able to try and create a forum where some of that energy could be spread and shared amongst people, so that they can get their own fuel for whatever fire it is that they're trying to create, in a metaphoric sense, not a literal one, obviously. But yeah, it's you're absolutely right. It feels. Question for you: how do you feel about the amount of collaboration the amount more collaboration that seems to be happening within the sector with various different initiatives, and the amount of new energy that seems to be coming into the sector, because that's something that I see as having exponential growth over the last few years since I've been involved in the sector.
I reflect on sort of where we started. I couldn't get doors to open for me for love nor money. You know, I went to more care homes who closed the door in my face than opened the door. I went to many care homes who I'd say, oh, we're going to get people active, and they'd say, look, Ben, they're not creating a problem for us right now. I said, yeah, but they're not doing anything. But that's not a problem.
Yeah.
Closed
mindset.
So you had this mindset which was reasonably insular. I think the regulators made a big difference to that. I think regulation has made a big difference around focusing on innovation, focusing on actually how we can improve people's quality of life, not just their quality of care. I think there's been really good entrepreneurs coming into the market, and also we've seen in the last 2 years much younger people coming into the care operation as well. There's still a massive risk, I think, in the care sector because of the leadership is getting older, and there isn't enough young blood, I don't think, coming through. Although there's much more expert people than me to comment on that. But seeing good entrepreneurial people who are running care groups, good entrepreneurs coming through who want to be part of it, with the real spirit around this is like, for instance, the spirit that we have in the Oomph office, and just to be clear, in the Oomph office, we've got Murthy based there, we've got the Care Workers Charity based there, we've got Oomph based there, we've got Pathway based there, we've got the Care Innovation Hub based there. So it's all based out of one office. So we've built an ecosystem for that collaboration. But it's the spirit. It's the spirit of it. If I'm going to live in the care sector one day, which, let's be honest, is a reasonably high chance, what care sector do I want to live in? And if I wouldn't live in it today, well, why? If I'm not going to be part of that change, then I'm part of the problem.
Yeah, 100%.
So you've got to get up and you've got to focus on it and say, okay, can we do this? Because if I move into a care home, I want to go outside. If I go into a care home, I want to have activity. If I go into a care home, if I need care, I want to have options for it, which is more than just domiciliary care or care home. There's got to be options in the middle, because that's what life should. Your life should have multiple options.
What you're talking about there is lifestyle choices, which doesn't matter what age you are, you should have lifestyle choices ultimately. And I think that's, I know you're quite big on the great outdoors, you're obviously quite fit and active and things like that. I can't imagine you in later life kind of think to myself, oh, well, it's fine now, I'm 84, I don't want to go on holiday anymore. That would be a sad place for the world to be. So having that forward-thinking view on, what does the horizon look like?
But I personally, that's one of the most exciting things for the sector is that expectation change is happening right now. So we're going from pre-baby boomer to baby boomer right now, and the expectation of the baby boomer market is lifestyle choices, is they have been on holidays, they have had huge asset valuation rises, and they've benefited from that. So their expectation of life is so different to the generation before, and as a whole market, we need to adapt to meet that need. So we've seen, even if you look outside of the care sector, whether it's the retirement villages, with Inspired Villages backed by Legal & General opening up just recently, and they're talking about building 50 retirement villages because they want it to be a choice rather than a necessity. The same with Audley. There are plenty of examples of this where consumer choice is being far more thought out now than it would have had to have been in the past.
It's interesting as well, and I mean, this is somewhat anecdotal, but if I think about people who I know that are baby boomers, the early to late baby boomer generation, shall we say, there's a big range in there around expectations as well. So the people who are baby boomers who are at the younger end of that generation, their level of expectation is completely again to kind of the tip of the curve as well. So we've got how long the decade or two that the generation's kind of going to work its way through the chronology, timeline, whatever, that in itself is going to have a massive shift in expectations and things as well. And then what happens after that? So it's important that people are asking the questions, what's it going to be like when I go to, when I have to have some type of care provision, and what choices are going to be available to me in the future. So you mentioned getting new blood into the sector. The Care Innovation Hub is a wonderful way of being able to do that. I had the pleasure of meeting Navin for the first time the other day, or at least properly, having seen him a couple of times. That's another fantastic venture. Tell me a little bit more about the Care Innovation Hub.
Oh, so this is probably about less than 1% of my time, so I can take very little credit for it, apart from it got founded on my birthday, when we were all pretty lubricated. But no, we were out in Shoreditch actually with me and a few friends. And they were talking about why aren't there enough innovators in the sector, and they came up with the idea that, or we all came up with the idea that we should run a little hackathon where we find out the sector's biggest challenges. We obviously know lots of CEOs. We asked them what their biggest challenges were, and we could then put it out to a group of university students, say, how would you solve these problems? And that's all the idea was. It's super silly, bit of fun. So we said, oh well, that'll be a laugh to do on the weekend. We'll just do it for a laugh. Alex and Ben Wilkins really ran it the weekend, and the weekend went well. We got plenty of students came along and came up with some really cool ideas. But we were fortunate that the Department for Health and Social Care loved it, and they hosted the final. We got lots of attention because of that, and it created some momentum. This year it's been set up properly, so it's now being run by Navin, who you've met. He's the CEO, Alex is the chairman. I'm just a co-founder, and there we've got, I think it's eight teams so far, but I think we're going to expect to get 16 teams coming up with their solutions for the care sector. Hackathon weekend, and then again the final's being hosted by the Department for Health and Social Care, and Caroline Dinage has put her name against it. So it's super cool, super exciting. I can't claim too much credit for it, but the idea is that when we actually, the thesis was that young people don't see the care sector as a career of choice, but if they could see the opportunity, they would see it as a career of choice. And actually it was kind of, the hypothesis was kind of proven, because we interviewed everybody coming on the challenge before they did the challenge and asked them the questions, would you consider coming into the care sector for a career? Obviously, the majority said no, and then after the challenge, the vast majority said yes, and actually some of them are now working in the sector.
Oh wow. Okay.
So part of it is a branding exercise, is how can you make care cool? And by getting young people in, thinking about how they could use their skills and their dynamism to make a significant difference to somebody's quality of life, or the way the service is run, then hopefully that can the spirit can be carried forwards into many more entrepreneurs coming into the sector, or just innovators. They don't need to be entrepreneurs. They could just be great designers. We had great product designers. We had people who were great at data analytics, and then just thinking, okay, well, this might be the place where I'd like to spend my career.
What's interesting is the fact that, I mean, it's the same in any business, but the most dangerous 6 words in a business are, that's the way it's always been done around here, type thing, and that's of course highly applicable to the care sector as well as many others. But one of the things that I hear from operators a lot is that they are looking for different ways to do everything. They are open-minded. They want to be able to innovate. They want to be able to look at different, to find different solutions to problems. But when you're in an operational role, it's quite difficult to be able to, even if you've got an idea, to be able to take that embryonic idea through to some level that it can be implemented and where it's been tested effectively and things like that. So to be able to bring bright young sparks with bags of energy and great ideas and things to the table, and to be able to give them that you create an intersection where they're coming with all the energy and the ideas and all that type of stuff, but then being able to introduce them to operators where those fantastic ideas can then start making a difference in the world. It's that's a great idea. I look forward to, when's the next Care Innovation Hub Challenge?
Okay, so the challenge weekend is the first weekend of July, and then I don't know if we've got the final date, but I'll let you know when I know what the final date is.
Please do. We'll put it in the show notes and things afterwards. But okay, so I know there's a couple of other organisations that you're involved in that we should probably talk about too. Where would you like to start, relevant to everything else that's going on in your world?
So the other two are, again, it's very very light touch, but it's more advisory. But there's Purozo, which is again super cool organisation. What they do is they've got a product which turns water into ozone, and the great thing about ozone is it's basically as good as cleaning as chemicals. And massively reduce cost risk. So when the founding team there were thinking of what could make a difference to the care sector, there are multiple things. There's the cost of chemicals Purozo was 80% cheaper. There was the issue around kosh, and if a resident drinks bleach, that would obviously be very bad for them. If they drank ozone, it'll kill their good bacteria, but it's not going to damage them. And then environmentally, it massively reduced the number of plastics going into the environment. So again, being mission led, I thought it had a really solid mission, and they wanted some advice on how to come into the care home market. So I've been advising them, and I'm pleased to say that they're doing extremely well. Very early on, about a year in now. But we're working in tens of care homes. I think it's like 70, 80 at the moment. But it's growing all the time. And then we also work in other markets as well. So we're working in hotels. So Best Western Group. They're working with Cartier, which is quite unusual.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So
nice luxury brand to have on the client list.
Yeah. So really unusual, but I think the idea is right. Is if you can figure out a way to reduce the number of chemicals in an environment, whilst also having the same effects, that's got to be a good thing, whilst also reducing the cost. So there is, as I say, it's early on. Internationally, it's done extremely well. So. They've signed a pool of McDonald's, for instance, all across America.
Wow,
so internationally, it's hugely successful. It's now just trying to make sure it lands in the UK in the right way.
Do I remember correctly? Of Dormy care communities, they were one of the early adopters, weren't they?
So Dormy are, as are Colton Care.
Sure. Okay. I remember Helen Malio showing me the product and getting, or I should say, Helen Parsons, Malio Parsons. I can't remember which way around it is. Yeah. She was Helen Malio then. But yeah, I remember her very excitedly showing me the product and just thinking, wow, that makes so much sense. Why wouldn't you buy that? Because it saves so much money. It's so much better for the environment, and it's so much better from a safety perspective, from a cost perspective. It's just another fantastic product in the product range and things like that. And then, last but not least, what was the Pathway? Yeah, tell me a little bit about that.
So Pathway is a great friend of mine. I'd say we're far more friends than in business together. But Chris used to work for me. Originally worked at Sky. Then he wanted to learn about small businesses, so came to work for Oomph. But his real passion has always been, how do you get school leavers who are likely to go into unemployment into work, particularly apprenticeships. So he's been doing a whole lot of work around that, and we work with, or Pathway works with some of the biggest corporates in the country, as well as over 150 schools, creating employment pathways for children who are likely to have needs. And it's a great alternative to a degree. So there's that as well. But Chris is something else. He's full of energy.
if you're going to start any type of start and scale any venture, you've got to have some energy. If nothing else, that's one thing that you need to be able to bring to the table. So, hopefully I'll get the chance to meet Chris. I think all of the other people that we've kind of discussed today, I've had the pleasure of either knowing reasonably well now, or I've had the opportunity to meet. But another person doing something important in the world as well. So it must be quite a lot of fun. Coming back to my original point, having the various different involvements that you do in the various different in their kind of various different guises and things, it gives you a really quite unique perspective on what's going on.
There is a selfish element to it, and that is Oomph is much better for everything else I do, because I'm learning way more from them, I reckon, than they're learning from me.
Sure.
I can advise Chris that you're coming into your sales season, focus on this, and that's probably going to be as good as my advice is. Actually, I'm observing like the challenges of running the organisation and him building his P&L out and the different peaks and troughs of his business. I'm thinking, okay, well, how can we apply that to Oomph? How can we learn so we can get ahead of any of these challenges? I think it's extremely narrow-minded to think this is my castle, and I'm the king of this castle, and I know best. I'm extremely average. I'm surrounded by quality people, and I learn and I devour information from those quality people. And I'm highly competitive, so I'm obsessively learning and trying to learn all the time. And I should say as well, within the Oomph business, I've got a great team who are running that business. So they're running the ops, they're running the marketing, the finance. They're doing an incredible job. So they're at it every day. And then there's me driving it all the time, and I'm driving because I'm learning from all the other organisations we met. That creates the competitiveness. Mm-hmm. Like Alex has made a sale, Chris has made a sale. How can we go faster? How can we learn from that? What did he do differently? Okay, sales team, right? This is what they've done. Oh, they've launched an impact report for every client. Okay, well we should launch an impact report for every client. Forget about the Oomph impact report. We'll have one for every client we've got. So because that client's going to feel more special, can be more personal. They could use it with their commissioners. We can think like that. So the whole time there is this selfish element. Is how is it going to make Oomph better?
Mm-hmm. Part of the reason why I wanted for us to have this kind of type of conversation, and the fact that the long form element of this really lends it to this type of conversation, is you can see the amount of energy that you get from each one, and then it cross-pollinates across across the different organisations and things. I think I mentioned it before anyway, but yeah, we'll meet for lunch and I'll come out and I'll be buzzing because I'll be saying, yes, you're doing fantastically, and there's this going on and that going on, and it's great to see, because it being, you mentioned earlier, being an entrepreneur, it's hard, it can be quite lonely. You've got to have the right group of people around you, whether that be mentors or team members or just the kind of ecosystem of people that help hold you to account and keep you honest so that you can aspire to be a high performance individual. I know I do. I want to be able to deliver results time and time again. I want to be able to grow. I want to make a difference to the sector. I want to be able to lead my team effectively. I want to be able to turn the dial up on the sector, all of that important stuff. But to do that, again, it comes down to the people that you spend your time with. I think there's the rule that kind of says,
you're the average of the closest five people
that you spend the most time with. And the older I get, the more I believe that, and the more I try and be super selective around who I do spend my time with. Yeah. So it's a pleasure to spend time with people like yourself and the other people that you've mentioned. So
it's growing an organisation is not without challenge. You know, there's the exciting side, which is all this side, which is, you know, it's really exciting. There's the day-to-day delivery of the grind, and you've got to make sure you're doing that. And so that's right now one of our big challenges is how do you build the systems, the processes, the people in anticipation of the growth, because all the time we're growing, so it's like every time we grow, it's like, well, we've outgrown our systems again. Brilliant.
It's a great problem to have, but then you think to yourself, right, okay, so we had that operating model before, now we're going to have this operating model. How do we get between those two things?
Exactly, and that's probably where a lot of my energy goes at the moment is just trying to figure out how when you've got this opportunity, how don't you fuck it up? And that's the thing which I get up and I'm afraid about. It's like how do I make sure I don't fuck this up? Because I've worked so hard to get here.
Thing is, though, that doesn't stop, though. I've got friends that own big old businesses that are turning over, tens of millions of pounds. Yeah. They're having the same conversations. They're just talking about a slightly bigger operating model. Exactly. So it's just going from here to here to here. So this is just something that as we grow and develop in our entrepreneurial worlds and things like that, there's we'll for every time that we think that we've cracked it, we'll get presented with another bigger problem that we'll have to go and work out how to fix, which is all part of it's part of the thrill of the chase to a certain extent, but that's not to say that it won't blindside you in the morning at 6 o'clock in the morning and go, how the hell are we going to do that?
Yeah. No, I think it's the best thing. We talk about imposter syndrome quite a lot.
Okay.
I kind of think if you don't feel like an imposter, you're arrogant. You should feel like you've got a whole lot of work to do because you're so amazed by the quality of the people that are around you.
I talk a lot about kind of the conversations that you have with yourself, and the fact that one of the things that I've been learning about recently and that seems to be making a big impact on my life is being able to hold contradictory thoughts in your head at any one time, almost so that you can serve yourself in different ways. So you can say, so I've had a couple of instances where I've been overconfident, and that's come round and it's kicked me in the arse because I've been overconfident and I've allowed myself to be maybe some complacent in some way, shape or form. So I need to have kind of a word with myself. Equally as well, when you're at the other end of the spectrum, and actually it's hard, but it's a grind, but you're getting to where you need to be. You need to have that conversation with yourself where you can say, actually, you know what, you are going in the right direction.
And that's why I think mentors are so important.
100%, because it's that positive reinforcement.
Yeah. Or they kick you in the ass.
Yeah, the all-important kick in the ass. 100%. We've been talking about, again, kind of what I class as being kind of high performance and things, and I love to hear people's definition of high performance. So how would you define high performance? What does that mean, and what does that mean for you?
I think if you can go finish a day and say I've done my best, and you've left it all on the table, as I'd say you're performing at a high level. And the thing that upsets me the most is where you see great people, really great people, who've got all the potential, and they're bright, you know, they could be just great, and they just don't take their opportunity because I believe in work ethic. I've moved to London for work, so whilst I'm in London, I virtually work all the time. So I've got good work ethic, and I've been brought up to believe in work ethic. So I think any high performing individual has got to have that ground in work ethic. A high performing team, though, is how those high performing individuals interplay. So you can have, you know, it's like you can have a football team full of stars, and without good management, it doesn't go anywhere. That's our board. Our board is that management and that governance for us, of course, as chief exec. The buck stops with me, but the board is a very important part of that. And it's to recognise where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are. I'd be the first to tell you that I'm horribly bad at detail. I'm certainly not a completer finisher. The words that excite me are around innovation, buzz, let's make it happen, let's get on with it. I'm not the person saying, let's really think about this, let's think about how this interplays with the rest of it. I'm not that person. But you need to have those people.
Of course.
So I think being, I think you've got to have, I think that I'm the best people I see, that the people I respect the most are absolutely humble. Because whether it's Mike Parsons, Mark Hutchison, they're the sort of people where if you could be like them, you'd be really proud. Because they're so good. because they're good, they're driven, they're very successful, but they're very, very humble. They take the team with them. They've got amazing people around them. They're high performing individuals, and at the end of the day, I'm sure they do go home and they say, today I've left it all on the table. I've given it my best shot. That's a good day.
Mm. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that's a great definition. You talked about some serious high-performing individuals in the sector there as well. So to have them as mentors and almost a benchmark of what that looks like is hugely powerful. So you almost touched upon. You started talking about your team, and within that, I'd encapsulate leadership. Now, you've been leading a team now for 8 years. What are the biggest leadership lessons that you've learnt?
Not to manage the team. Probably was one of the key ones, but no. I think it's to let people get on with it. You got to trust the team. I've got Kate, who's our COO and really focuses on out and about every day. She's been with me for about 5 years now, and she's just extremely good at ops. She's very good at it. I've got Preeta, who is absolutely phenomenal. She's very operationally focused, but she's amazing at impact measurement. I've got Lisa, who's highly commercial and great at marketing, so she runs our commercial division and marketing. Then I've got Ian, who came out of Bridges Ventures, but he's our CFO. These are people who have had careers far more successful than mine. They are all first class, and yes, in a meeting, people will probably look for me for a decision, but ultimately they're the ones making 99% of the decisions in the business every day. And then there'll be the one key thing that we'll need to discuss in a deeper way.
Sure.
And I because they're so good, I kind of see I've failed if I've got to deal with if I'm in the middle management issues because they're so good, and it's not their failure, it's my failure because they're excellent, and I haven't allowed them to be able to do what they're good do, and that could be a number of ways. It could be a management style, but equally it could be that I've overblown the pipeline and there's too much work on, so they're not able to operate at the level they should be operating at. Sure. It might be that we've not put enough investment into the foundation of the business, so we don't have enough well-being coordinators, we don't have enough drivers, or we don't have enough whether it's account managers or finance assistants, or it could be anything. But that would be a great example of me making bad decisions. Mm-hmm. So we need to make sure that we've got the right level of pipeline with the right level of resourcing so they can operate in the right way.
You talk very passionately about the fact that you're the kind of the buck stops with you. That's something that I think I've heard you mention every single time that we've come together. Have you heard of a guy called Jocko Willink?
No.
So he was the SEAL commander for the Battle of Ramadi. So he's an American military guy, but he's one of the most decorated soldiers out there. That was like a.
Is he the one who did the commencement speech?
No, I think that was David Goggins. Equally, both of those are absolute badasses. But Jocko wrote a book called Extreme Ownership. I'll get you a copy. It's fantastic. But it's basically about the principle of, if you're a leader, the buck stops with you. So that's, you'll read that book and you'll see what I mean. Hopefully the audience will read that book as well, because it's fantastic. But ultimately, you need to take responsibility of everything that's going on within your organisation. Jocko talks about decentralised command. So it's not the fact that you actually have to be physically doing everything, but you have to create an environment where everyone can successfully fulfil the expectation of whatever it is. And that it certainly seems that, well, you wouldn't have grown the way that you have done and been so successful if you hadn't employed those principles.
I would say we in that sense we've probably been. Over time, it's become more engineered. But at the start, we were succeeding in spite of ourselves. We made far more mistakes than things we got right. but yeah, I think now we're getting to a place where the business is maturing a little bit, and we're able to understand a little bit more. You're always learning, aren't you? So.
Of course. Talking of learning, one of my favourite questions is, what's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
I did read that question ahead of this, and I should have spent some more time thinking about it. But my dad's probably given me the best advice, and the best advice that I've had was, is the second you stop loving it, to stop.
It's a great piece of advice. It's a great piece of advice.
And he, whenever it gets hard, because in any business you go through really hard times, he's always the one to say, he'll be always the one to say, you've chosen this, but equally you can choose not to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So make the proactive choice. So don't drift. Either choose to do it again. So today you can stop. You can stop doing anything today.
Yeah.
So make the decision, are you going to choose to do it, or are you going to choose not to do it? And if you choose to do it, remember why you chose to do it.
Bringing it back to the original purpose, the why.
Yeah.
It's really important. Your dad sounds like a wise man. It's fantastic advice.
Oh no, he's way wiser than me. But yeah, it's great. He always reminds. So when I started the business, I always said I wanted to start off to go travelling. And he now regularly reminds me that I don't go travelling. But we kind of, because we talk about it quite a lot, and Mum and Dad are very focused on the fact that they've worked very hard, and they've got their hotel, and it's really good, and they did it because they didn't want us to work in the way that they worked.
Sure.
So when I said I wanted to go travelling, and I don't do it now, Dad will say, well, why aren't you doing it? If you want to do the business, you can do the business. If you want to go travelling, you can go travelling. If you want to run the hotel, you can run the hotel.
Sure.
You've got choices.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm one of these lucky people where if I fall, I don't fall that far.
Sure. Yeah.
So when I talk about Oomph now, we've gradually got to the point where that actually the adventure isn't travelling, the adventure is Oomph.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the adventure. And if we can keep it that way, if you can game it like that yes, things are hard, but you're learning and it's adventure and it's fun. My dad talks a lot about the size of the wave. He said when you got on the wave of Oomph, I expected the wave to go underneath you, but the wave just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Sure. Yeah.
But at some point you need to decide when you're going to get off the wave.
Yeah.
And he's right,
Wise words. Definitely wise words. Mr. Allen sounds like a fantastic chap. Okay, so last question just before we wrap things up. So if you were to give one piece of advice to somebody looking to make a positive impact on the sector, what would that be?
Choose the area that you want to impact, and then ask yourself, am I prepared to work hard enough to make it happen? Because this sector is hard. I mean, it's not like you can say you can give advice, say, oh yeah, get out into the market, meet as many people as you can do. The reality is you've got to really want it, and you've got to really want it, and then you've got to really want it some more, because the care sector takes ages to make a decision on anything they're going to do. It's just uniformed across the nature of the sector. When you get in there, you're going to see more failure than success for the first year or two. And then it might work. Might work. Yeah, and so you've got to really want it. And you've got to test that assumption, because someone's saying, I want to work in the care sector, whether it's as a care worker, or as an executive, or as a care home manager, or as a supplier, or as an entrepreneur into the space. You've got to say to yourself, how much do I want this? And then you got to remind yourself why you want it. And if you can say to yourself, this is why I want it, this is what I'm going to do, then my advice to them is bottle that, and then get on with it.
That's a fantastic piece of advice. Let's wrap it up there. Thank
Cool.
you so much. That was a lot of fun. Cheers, Ben.
Thanks.